Hello, guys, and welcome to the last episode of this season of In the Bag, Grab Bag Behind the Scenes podcast. I'm your host, Vallon Voyles, and today I'm here with...
Morgan Stevens. Wyatt Simon, the producer of this season of Grab Bag.
Yeah.
Grab Bag 3.
Yeah, well, tell a little bit about yourself before I get into the bits.
Oh, dear. I've been the producer of Grab Bag this last season, taking over for Nick Thaman. He hosted the previous 2 seasons. I did a couple of funny sketches in the past, and then I've slowly become washed and just ran out of sketch content. And within this semester, you might not have even... I mean, my name is like the first one on the credits, but like I haven't really been in a lot of... I think the total count when this finale comes out will be like 2, maybe 2, because the other sketch that I'm supposed to be in is like a maybe, if we can get it done.
Yeah.
So I it's weird because I've never been more involved in the show, and I've never had like less of an on-screen presence.
Yeah.
Which is fine because like it has to be one or the other. Which anything to make the show work, I say.
All right. Well, we'll get into the first bit.
Yeah. I got plenty of bits.
All right.
Had to be jelly. I couldn't double major it. Had to be jelly.
All right. We just watched The Perfect PB&J and Its Consequences.
Yeah, that was weird.
Where did that come from?
Well, where it came from, actually, I guess I do kind of remember. This is definitely, like, the sketch that I have, like, the most to talk about because it was, like, my introduction into making sketch comedy.
Yeah.
Prior to this Grab Bag, I was just kind of like, oh, I guess this is just something that, like, I could get involved in. The show had just, like, started, so I wasn't inherently, like... It wasn't inherently clear, I guess, what the show was, like, right off the bat to me, but then really quickly I was like, oh, it's just... Sketch comedy is just funny videos. That's not much, there's not much more to that. And so I had my roommate at the time, and he's still one of my best friends, Brendan Volley. I hope he doesn't mind me saying his name. It really quickly, like, when I came back to my dorm, and I was like, I want to do something for this show, and I'm not really sure what. And throughout high school, we used to make a bunch of, like, funny videos, and they were called Cooking with Wyatt videos, and they can still be found. They're somewhere floating around the internet. I'm not going to say where, but the thing to me is whenever we would, like, do one, we would always, like, really segment them apart, and we would just kind of break it up, or whenever we got bored, we would film one of those. They didn't have, like, a script or anything. We were just kind of, like, going off, riffing it. But what was it? The premise was kind of like, I've always found cooking videos to be, like, super simple introductory wise to, like, hop back into something because they're very objective based. Like, you know the beginning and you know the end. It's to complete whatever you're making. Yeah. This one kind of went off the rails. But it came down to, like, how do you do a cooking video that's not, like, in the same way that I did it? And I wrote it, but there were a lot of things that I went to him and I would talk to him about, and there was a lot of brainstorming between the two of us. In fact, like, the only reason that it gets as chaotic as it is because of, like, his advice and, like, kind of just, like, a back and forth of, wouldn't it be funny if it was this? And it kind of, it cascaded from, like, oh, what if I'm just, like, really, like, what if I'm just, like, filling, like, taking the entire jar and just, like, dumping it on both of these and putting that into a sandwich? And then he's like, what if you're just, like spreading it on, like, war paint? And I'm like, what if I'm just spreading it on my entire body? And then I did. But it was, writing it was definitely, like, it goes off the rails from that, like, first starting of just, like, because I don't actually make anything. Yeah. I'm making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, but, like, I only ever make... I'm sorry, no, I don't make one usual one. The cameraman, or that was Olivia, Olivia was filming halfway through, and then halfway through she was disgusted and, like, could not go on, and who could blame her because it was gross and it was all over their floor. And when I brought this sketch to the pitch meeting, I was like, I have this, but it's kind of like over the top, and like I don't really know if it's something. I was like I'd be willing to like get everything for it, but I don't have like a space to be able to do it in. I think I was thinking of maybe doing it in like the dorm kitchen, the shared dorm kitchen, which is like a really small space. Oh my god, if I would have done it in there, I would have ruined it. And Nick was immediately like, you could do it at our place. And I was like, well, you should really look over this because, like, I don't know if you want to, like, make that commitment.
Yeah.
And he looked over it and he was like, you could do it at our place. I was like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah. And even, like, while we were filming it, the whole time I'm filming it, I was like, are you really sure this is okay? I trashed their kitchen.
Yeah.
I ruined their kitchen because, I mean, even just making a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, peanut butter will get everywhere.
Yeah.
Even if you're not attempting to, and I am attempting to get it everywhere. So it cascaded from like turning into this like chaotic mess. And we prepped up all this stuff for it. Like I said, I was like totally willing to like get everything for it. Nick drove me to Walmart prior, and we just got like, I think we just got one big thing of peanut butter, maybe 2 jars of jelly, and then 2 loaves of like clearance bread. That bread was disgusting. That is, I think I might have had like a bite of it just to like taste it, but I don't remember swallowing it. It's the grossest bread that you've ever felt. It was like super starchy. It felt like a wet sponge. It didn't feel like bread. I don't remember what it was like advertised as, but like it didn't feel like bread you're supposed to put into your mouth.
Yeah.
It felt like kind of like something you're just supposed to like display on a shelf. And so I'm I'm going about making the sketch, and I just know that I'm like cascading into I'm gonna have to cover myself in peanut butter at some point. And there are a lot of things like early on that I still really like the sketch, and I still really enjoy it because like I'm always willing to like I will roll around in the mud if it's funny.
Yeah.
I don't care like how disgusting it makes me, and I don't care how like gross I am by the end of it. If it makes like a funny product, I am 100% willing to do it.
Yeah.
I just don't want to ruin like clothes, so I get like old clothes if I do things like that. Except for that sketch, I'm wearing the nicest shoes that I still own. Clean them up a bit, but they've never like fully recovered from that. That's also where I learned that you can put shoes in the washer, but again, still didn't save them. But what else? So I'm in the middle of like making this sketch. On one hand, this is the first time that I've ever like written something. So as much as I have like a script and a format that I'm following, I also have, there are also a lot of things that I'm just like off the dome. I'm like, hey, would you mind doing this? The slap. That's Nick. If I remember correctly, Nick, I don't think necessarily didn't want to be featured in it, but it wasn't like a listed thing. So he wasn't like, oh, I don't want to like interject in it. But I was like, could you slap me? Like full on. It's a real slap. Yeah. The first one, he slapped me hard. The second one was a little bit lighter. I think that first one is just like the harder one that I took, but I was like, it'll look so much funnier. And again, I don't care what's done to me so long as it makes a funny product. So I just let the slap go full force. And I still love all of the chaotic bits. I still love how like actually decently well like it looks covered in peanut butter, because I am like covered in peanut butter, but I'm like wrapped in I'm wrapped in plastic wrap. Yeah. Like I had them like cover the arms. I got that apron just for that sketch, threw it out immediately afterwards because that thing was not salvageable. So I'm wrapped in like plastic wrap. It's wrapped around like both of my legs. It's like padding everywhere. It's like wrapped around my arms. And so then I just started taking, it had to be in like that one shot. So it is like, you do see the actual process of me like covering myself in peanut butter. Yeah. That's not like faked, or that's not like in between takes. It was like, this has got to be good because I'm when it's in that like weird amalgamation on the ground and I'm just messing with it, that is the same glob that is on my body by the end of the sketch. And it still looks like pretty well. I don't think, there's a level of like, of course you can see a bit of plastic wrap, and I'm not like picky about that because like if anyone's actually like concerned about the realism of me covering myself in this peanut butter, it's like you're watching the wrong sketch. If that's like your biggest concern for it. So I am like decently happy with how that looks, but it's a sketch that is kind of harder for me to watch back because of the early parts. I don't like the early bits that like were really just me trying to fill time and buy time to getting to the peanut butter. There are a lot of lines, and I've talked about this before with members of the cast. There are a lot of early lines in that script that I just like don't like, that I was just kind of trying to like riff something funny that I think it could be taken a little bit more seriously. Like I talk about like somehow getting like a film crew off of Yelp, and I'm like, that's not like even a situation. That doesn't happen. I talk about like I spent some time in the Bermuda Triangle. I think it like retrospectively, I think it's funnier if I just said like Turkey or Sweden or like somewhere, not the Bermuda Triangle. Shout out Amelia Earhart. I remember she's all right down there. So it's a little bit like there's a little bit of it that's kind of harder for me to watch back, but again, still with like the actual like physical process, I'm happy with it. Again, super grateful to both Nick and Olivia for like being like, yeah, you can come here, do this. This was right after they were filming for, I believe, a production one. Okay. It might have been a production two. And it was a full shoot, and I didn't have any of the film equipment. I didn't know what the SRL was. I didn't know like the process of renting out equipment. Yeah. So they were like, well, that's fine. You can use like the equipment that we still have like rented out for all of this. So it's also like one of the nicest looking sketches I've ever made, just because like they were taking care of all of that for me. And they were super willing to just like let me trash it. I helped throughout like cleanup, which I don't remember taking as long as like I thought it would, but like showering and getting it all off did. There's like about 10 minutes of footage, and if you watch back the episode that originally aired on, the little blooper reel is me being hosed down outside of Nick's house by Nick. And within that like 10 minutes of just like standing there, they like unwrap me. Like I couldn't do anything. I just had to like stand there while they just like try to like feel through the peanut butter for the ends of the plastic wrap, and then just start like taking it off of me, and I just have to kind of like let them do their thing while I just stand there and hope for the best. And then Nick gets out the hose and he turns it on, and nothing, and it's like a couple seconds of like a bit of ice falls out of, because it was like snowy outside, and a bit of ice comes out of the hose, and I'm like, oh my god, oh no, no. And then I'm just being hosed down like a convict covered in peanut butter. Their neighbors came outside while they were hosing me down, and I just had to be like, hi. And then they let me use their shower. I might have like terribly clogged their shower. If they're ever, I don't know who's like living at that apartment now, but like if they've ever had water damage issues, I might have an answer for them. Yeah. But it took like 30 minutes of like just sitting in the shower hoping to get it all off. I keep feeling my hair because there's just bits of it in places. I still to this day think I feel bits of it somewhere. I thought that like my skin would like break out. Yeah. Never did. I don't know if it necessarily was smoother or something, but like it never like, as far as I could tell, it never really like physically affected me. Yeah. It could have. Like I Googled it later and it was like, yeah, this is like one of the worst things you could probably like apply to yourself. You fill yourself with germs because it's peanut butter. It's super sticky, and anything in the air will like kind of just attach itself to it. Yeah. What else? At least like production wise for that sketch, it was all cleaned up. I took out Brandon came out. There's a ton of photos of like just me covered between shots and filled in like the peanut butter. There were a ton of things that, again, these were like these were very much like other people helping to make this as good as it was. The like cork board was supposed to be like filled with a ton of things, but then Nick was like, wouldn't it be funny if it was just like one line connecting the two? And it's so much funnier for that. There's a bit of like that B-roll footage where like Nick was like, you can't tell in the B-roll, but like if you hear the audio, Nick's like banging on the wall to try and get some of the jelly to slide off. But there's that very good shot where it's first put up where like the jelly just immediately as soon as it goes on just starts falling off. And I think that one's great. It's really just like, I'm proud of that sketch, but it is, I cannot take full credit. I cannot even take like, I don't say like half credit. I'm not going to give I was thinking like what's a percentage I could give, but I'm not going to give that. But a lot of it is thanks to like other people and like helping it because I didn't know what I was doing and I was just kind of experimenting with like, I wrote 4 pages of something I think is funny with my roommate. Yeah. And it was also one of the first things that I like edited myself. It's the only sketch I have that from beginning to end fully just uses copyrighted music. Some in its entirety. I hope that like outing that doesn't like get somebody to go back on YouTube and be like, oh my god, did we miss something? And like copyright claim strikes that video. It's probably got something on it already. But I'm still happy with it. I wouldn't change the music. It's like one of my favorites is like it uses an Evangelion track on like my Descent into Madness, and I think that's the funniest thing to me. And then editing wise, it was a lot of like, it was one of my first times editing something, but at the same time I was also in a couple of like classes working on editing things, so I had a lot of people to work with. And Nick is always, when Nick was show running, he's always super helpful in terms of like if you get a sketch in early. And I was super excited to like get this done, so I was trying to get it done like as quick as I can. There was a lot of feedback, and there was also a bit of like, this is the case for like any editing project, but it very much becomes down to like, you have to realize that the specifics of editing come down to like a matter of opinion, because there were at least like 2 things that Nick was like, I think these things could work a little bit differently if it was like that. And given it was one of the first things that I edited, I was like, you think if like I should change my sketch and that it would be funnier? This is my decision. And like I would get I got my professor to be like, what do you think? What do you think of this? And then I would text Nick. I texted Nick back. I was like, well, my professor said that this scene works better like this. And I'm being over dramatic about it. Nick was just like providing feedback. Yeah. But overall, again, I'm still happy with it. Some of the dialogue's a little shaky, but other than that, this is what I'm known for. This is still like, this is brought up to me at least once every semester of somebody being like, why did you do that? Yeah. And I was like, well, I wanted to make an impression. And I think I did that. Yeah.
Well, it's on the homepage of the thing. The blooper reel is you covered in peanut butter.
Is it?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I didn't know. Wait. Yes, it is. I knew that. There is a lot of like really good bloopers of just like, I was very adamant. I was like, I want the cameraman, and this is again something with those cooking videos I made in high school that I love. I love personified cameramen. I love when they like kind of like nod their head or like nod the camera up and down or shake it left and right to kind of give it. And Olivia was great in doing that. And I think I know what you're talking about. It's this one. I'm looking directly at the camera and I'm like, this is serious. This isn't a joke. And the camera's just like up and down. Yeah, sure is. There's a lot of funny bloopers in there. There's a point where I'm like, I can't breathe. I'm like, I can't breathe that out of there in my nostrils right now. I just need like 1 second. I'm trying to think because there's so much for this sketch, but it's also just because like at the time I'm walking into like a new world, but like a new kind of like a new level of like production. I before that it was just kind of like filming some stuff on my phone and then clip the bits together with like iMovie or something. But this was a completely different beast, and like I was super excited to do it. I like dove headfirst into it, and still it's gross, it's disgusting, and people bring it up to me like more than I say I would like, but like I love attention, so it's fine. Yeah. But like the some part of like me will always exist on the internet as that. And I don't know if that's good. But I can't do anything about it now.
Yeah.
So I kind of just have to embrace it, which that's fine. That's okay. I every once in a while I try to write a sketch just like that. I want to cover myself in mud, one of these times for something.
Yeah.
But it never turns out the same way of like, it never reaches that same level of like chaos. If I think of something at some point down the road, then I might give it a shot, but it'll depend on how much time I have, because producing, I definitely couldn't pull off like a sketch like that.
Yeah.
Juggling everything. I'm wondering if there was anything else. Everything else in that episode really came down to like being very food centric. I don't know why, but like I've been scared of using copyrighted music ever since then. Other sketches have used what is probably copyrighted music in them, but none of them to like that level. There's definitely a level of just like I wanted to really interject my own like personality into those, because like all of the songs are series or a game that I like adore and love so much compared to the other ones. That I'm happy with it for what it is. Even the bits that I think don't work very well are still like capsulized as what they are.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll find another one. We'll talk about that.
Yay!
Timmy hasn't been sleeping well on account of the fighting.
All right. We just watched ranked competitive divorce court coverage.
Yeah. I'm going to make this one shorter because Vallon informed me that I went for 20 minutes off of peanut butter and jelly. I expected peanut butter and jelly to take the longest time, but like that's ridiculous. I love this one. I do. It's a bit more of like a unique one because like all of the audio is sourced from that announcement coverage. But still, I think this was the day we filmed like 3 different sketches, or maybe it was just 2. Maybe it was 3. For the next episode, all in like this one night, because I remember for the like actual like court coverage, we got out of there late. It must have been 3 because we had the studio reserve 2, and I think Micah was doing one of his sketches. So we were in Franklin Hall late for this one, but this one I'm such a big fan of, and it's because everybody's performance is fantastic, and it purely relies on like performance, because like the announcements are good. Emma and Tyler both do like great. They have like fantastic announcer voices, and they read off the lines just how like I feel like a sports coverage reporter would. But like, oh my God, Nicholas and Darian throughout that entire sketch. Nicholas is like off the wall crazy. There are so many like individual screen grabs of Nicholas whenever he like loses it in that sketch that are so funny. Darian is like moving like 11 when like the fumble happens, and like he just starts like boxing out Phoenix left and right. Phoenix does great. Jillian does great. They both have like this. There's this fantastic contrast between the two, which was indirectly written like that, and maybe that was it's hard to get back into the headspace of like when I was writing it, but it was definitely like Nicholas was like the desperate one between the two, and Jillian is so uninterested in this. It is so easy for Jillian to win this, and Jillian wins, quote unquote, out in the end, but doesn't want that kid who is me. Everyone was bullying me throughout that sketch, saying I look like Woody, saying I look like SpongeBob, and I do, but I don't like it. Morgan is serving as the ref. I believe they told me they weren't like, that's one of their like least enjoyed kind of like, I don't remember what for, but I think it was just like, didn't like the way they looked for that as like the ref. But I personally love it. They throw me to the ground like a prisoner, and I think it's so funny. Nick like loses his mind against like the boat. There is like so much unused footage of them just like riff, like again, no audio, and like they both know it. There's a bit of like talking between them, but it is all communicated through like action, and there is like 1 2-minute sequence of just like Derek sitting back down Darian, as his lawyer, tries to like comfort him a little bit, and Nicholas just like he just like really gets in his face, and he's like, if you don't get the next, like if you don't win whatever comes up next, like it's over for you. I'll make sure it's over for everybody. Nick does great as the judge. I believe it was his idea to like pull out his phone when they're like really back and forth, and I love that. I think it's great. I love how disinterested he is in it. I believe there's a little more, I don't know if it's included in it, but there's a little bit more where he's like on his phone. Like he has it like sideways, like he's like watching like a movie or something on it between it. And I think it's so much fun. Post-production wise, I know a bit of the audio was a bit, this is my first time realizing that the studio microphones that we have in our studio are terrible and they clip all the time. And so there were like, it was some of Tyler's lines because Tyler is like really the one who like ramps it up in a lot of instances in that sketch, that I had to re-record like 3 times because I was just trying to get it to sound just like how it did before. And I didn't know a lot about audio editing at the time. So I was just trying to like make it sound natural while just like playing with the volume and very little else. And it still kind of like stands out. You can tell where the like reused audio is. But even with that, like, Tyler is so good at just like immediately amping it up. He doesn't need to warm up. He doesn't need to like save up for it. I just could put him in the back room and be like, could you give me these lines again? And he's like, absolutely, sure, go ahead. And again, I think I rented out the equipment for this, but I think the audio equipment, I think I just like, again, I think I might have snatched it from Nick again. I was like, hey, can I borrow like a Zoom recorder really quickly? Yeah. But no, I'm happy. I love this one. I love this one just because of like, performances get me, and everybody in this does fantastic. Everybody is like exactly as I envisioned it. So I love this one so much. Yeah.
All right, well, we're gonna find another one. We'll be back.
Building the Death Star was a victimless crime. It was the guy who used the Death Star.
All right, we just watched The Worst Day to Make a Solar Death Ray.
Yeah, codenamed Dr. Vile. This I do like this one. This was part of the Eclipse special that we had, the first season of Grab Bag. This came from me and Tyler both have a love of an Adult Swim show that's no longer in the air called The Venture Brothers. And specifically, we love doing impressions of one of the main characters, the Monarch, who is this like sinister, like as nefarious as a cartoon villain gets. And we love doing impressions of it. We love coming up with like sequences with him. And it was kind of like born out of that. It turned mad scientist very quickly, but it was still very much like that's where the basis of it comes from. That's where like his very quirkiness of like, he has henchmen and he is like a boss, but you wouldn't know that if like you watch the sketch. They talk to each other almost as if they were equals, but like as if none of them really knows what's going on.
Yeah.
Which I love. I'm trying to think more production on this one. I'm really happy with the way this like looks. I was going for, and this is like, I didn't know anything about lighting, and I was really just like setting them wherever, but I don't think it looks, there's a couple shots that I think are a little weird, but color wise, I think a lot of them kind of look pretty nice. I went for the like red and blue, kind of like the 80s animated series Venom was in my head when I was thinking of this. Again, Darian and Tyler, both fantastic performances. There's a lot done by Tyler that again was just kind of like improved. It was on a calendar. There were updates. That was him. If you look on the slideshow I think was like his idea, and it says step 1, Death Ray. Step 2 says nothing. No, step 1 is kill Sungazer. Step 2 is absolutely, it has nothing. There's nothing on step 2, and step 3 is just profit. I'm a big fan of like when we were throwing out ideas for the Eclipse episode where this came from. There's a bit of like the footage used from Coleman got footage of the solar eclipse, which needed like a specific lens. It was very particular, but we got a bit of footage from it, and I think like where it's interjected, it's not too busy and it works pretty well.
Yeah.
What else? This one created my lifelong rivalry with the lav mics, which regularly have an interference buzzing, and you can still hear it on Darian's mic a bit. There's there are some Adobe effects that fix it up and kind of restore it to make it sound better, but like, you can hear it sometimes, and it made me so mad when I was first editing it because I was like, I did everything right. Why is it doing this?
Yeah.
But there's a lot of lavs now. There's a lot of instances of it. It's brutal in this one, but I've seen it to like less extreme degrees in other sketches that I've made. Wow, what else do I have on this one? We filmed it in the little like photo studio room. That's a great area for just to get like a dark space because I wanted like a layer, and I didn't know it, but that photo studio just has that like cage in the back of it with all that like, with all this like photography like set it equipment that really quickly makes it look like an evil layer. I took like some extension cords we found in the back and I just like draped them over the like cage that they keep them in for some reason.
Yeah.
Oh yes, there's a lot of like wordplay in this one that I really like. Fermium, I was just looking up like radioactive elements. I still think it's so funny when Darian says, or when Dr. Vile is like, how's the fermium? And Darian says, it's not too firm. I love Honda Civic. Originally, the line was written as just like the Honda Civic. I don't hold it like, I'm not saying like Darian like fumbled that line by any means, but the line was like, I'm taking the Honda Civic. Darian says my Honda Civic, but I love the Honda Civic because it kind of implies that they like share it, that it's like their other car that they take.
Yeah.
And then the fermium itself is made up of my leftover Chipotle that I didn't finish. So if I remember correctly, I took the rest of the burrito that I didn't finish and I wrapped it in the Chipotle bag, and then I wrapped the burrito in the napkin first, and then in the bag, and then in the tin foil just to make it like a ball. Yeah. And I don't know if it ever leaked, but Darian also has gloves on, so if it did, I wouldn't know it. Oddly turned out like pretty well because I don't know what fermium looks like actually. Yeah. I can't remember now. Probably just like a rock. But the radioactive material is usually kept in like some sort of like container like that, which was my thinking. There's one audio gag in this sketch that I think is so funny, and it never gets anybody. When Darian puts that fermium on the little pedestal to like charge it, you hear the charging up sound, and then really faintly you hear the sound of a Mac, like a Mac computer starting up. And I think it's so it was the last thing I added to it before it was like over, and I showed it to my roommate and I was like, huh, and he's just like, every time I show it to somebody it's like pretty good, and it's like, I think it is so funny, and no one ever gives it it never gets like the laugh that I want out of it. Yeah. And it kind of it doesn't like upset me. It's just a little bit like, come on, Mac startup sound, am I right? What else for this one? It was part of like a lot of ones we did for that Eclipse episode. I'm really happy with that episode. They're all themed very well. They're all very on brand. Huge shout out to Nick for like thinking of that kind of like theming, because like within season 3 of Grab Bag, I didn't do a themed episode because I didn't really want to bloat a themed episode. I mean, retrospectively, maybe there could have been like a Valentine's Day one or something like that, but I didn't want like, prior to this, the agenda had a lot of like themed episode, and I don't think a lot of them like work in the way that maybe they work just for the sake of them. I wasn't there for that for anything of the agenda actually, but I'm not a fan of like, I've watched back like the agenda cheese-isode, and it's just like kind of a reach to me, and it's not a reach that I wanted to go for. Yeah. I couldn't have the Grab Bag cheese-isode on my hands, and I told that to Nick. I was like, it can't be my fault that exists one day. Yeah. So my compromise was to make the season not themed, but the Roman numerals was my kind of like personalized touch to it to kind of like differentiate the season a little bit. Did it amount to anything? No, except for like when people are like grab bag 3, right? I'm like, no, grab bag 3. But specifically for this sketch, what else? Again, great performance by everybody. The photo studio has been used a couple times for other sketches, and it's a great space for, especially if like you just need something like quick and you need an interior area. Eggman's theme from the original Sonic Sat AM cartoon plays in its entirety. Probably something struck with that, but oopsie. I don't know. I really do enjoy. I enjoy this one partially just because like it follows a theme, and like I don't think it's like it's not too much of a stretch for the theme, I feel like, and it's made up of things that I love, and me and Tyler both like get such a kick out of. So yeah. Another one that I just love and holds a special place in my heart.
That's good. All right, we're gonna find another one. We'll be back.
Look, man, it's pretty cool if you ask me. I mean, think about how many houses there are in the world, and it picked yours for reference.
All right, we just watched perfectly generated an image of my house.
Yes, AI threat generator. I know that this sketch, when I originally wrote it, was a completely different idea that just wasn't working, and I can't remember what it was, but it was something that Darian helped me to write this one. Darian helped a lot with me to write this one. And this was for, I think I might have had this like written. Yeah, I had this script done before season 1 ended. But I never ended up like acting on it, and then just kind of like saved it for a while, and then start of season 2, it was very quickly like, what sketch does everybody have? And nobody had any because the semester had just started. Nobody was really like working on it, and like figures. That I actually have 2 for this episode that it aired in. Also, Inside UIC2 Wolves, the therapy bit. We're not going to watch through that one because there's not too much to say on that one. Vinny and Kim both do fantastic jobs. But AI threat generator was something that I was like, yeah, I've had this for a while. I can I can put this script together. And I think it was Grant's first time on Grab Bag, I want to say, because this is episode 1, I believe. And Tyler does great. Tyler started giving this commercial read voice. So that's where that like, that's why it's always like when he's on screen in the beginning, it's that like very bubbly, very like generic advertisement music, because he's speaking like he's trying to sell this to Grant. And I'm trying to think of like anything else. That robot is me. I spent that day like getting Darian and other people to just put metal objects in that we had in the prop closet on my body and taping it to my body. Again, anything so that the joke's not back on me. So we had this robot head from an agenda sketch from forever ago, I believe. And then we have like this huge fan that serves really well in like the summertime when it's hot outside. That I just like strapped up and put on my chest. I have a trash bag over me, and then the phone. I love like the phone because like the actual receiver is like taped to my chest, and then the actual like phone handle is on my like taped to the other side of the head. The audio that you hear when you can like hear the robot outside while it's growing closer, really closer, is outtakes from when I was running into that room, and that scream when I come in is, I believe it's like 50, maybe 75% speed of one of the takes where I come in, and inside of that head, inside of the actual box, we put a chrome bowl, so it would kind of like, the intention was that it would kind of like fit a little bit more evenly on my head. Yeah. In fact, instead it just made it so that like it slid around a lot, but it did keep it like somewhat even for a while.
Yeah. But
it also made everything that I would say when I had it on my head very echoey, and I just let out this blood-curdling scream on one of those takes, and that's the one that I ended up using for it. Because all the other ones, like, as soon as I would rush in, there's one where I think I just, like, missed the door handle and just ran right into the door. Anytime I would run in, that chrome bull would, like, slide off my head, and then you could just, like, see, and I'm like, sweating profusely underneath that thing, 'cause it's gross, and I'm covered in metallic parts. But I love the idea of the sketch. There's a bit of, like, Grant, Grant for, like, a first time did incredible for this. There's a bit of, you can see Tyler looking at the screen a couple of times, because eventually we were like, hey, you don't see the screen, you can pull a script up on here. I didn't think that would mean that Tyler would just cop out and start looking at it, but no, he's still doing a great job. I love that his, like, announcer voice. The biggest thing was, like, this was my, like, big Photoshop endeavor of making all these, like, AI generated images of different things. My personal favorite, and I worked on all of these in class. Of course I did, because I'm such a lazy go-getter. But my favorite one is that the robot when he replaces Grant in the family picture, because that's a stock photo of just, like, a family, and I don't even know if it was, it looks like the older brother. I think I took him out. And in front of him is this younger kid who, whenever I would crop that one person out of the photo behind him, it would always crop his hair out, because it couldn't tell the difference between his hair and the guy behind him, like, his pants, because they were, like, dark jeans. And I got so sick of it that if you watch back that sketch and you pause on, like, that image, I drew him like a low taper fade, kind of like fake hair, because I got so sick of trying to, like, not get it, that I was just like, I'll just do it myself. And it looks terrible, but it's so quick that it's like you kind of don't notice it at first. And I think that's, like, when I watch back the sketch now, that's the funniest part of it to me, just because, like, as soon as you see it, you can never unsee it. It's a sketch where, I don't know, it's just, this was in the midst of, like, AI really starting to take off, and it wasn't anything serious at the time. It was still generating, like, stupid images that, like, couldn't even be discerned from, like, the prompts that you're giving it. But everyone was like, this is going to be dangerous. This is going to get so much, this is going to, like, understand so much knowledge. It could, like, take over the world so quickly. And that may happen one day, but I still don't think it's there. If you've done, like, the Premiere Pro recently added an effect of, like, if you expand an image, it'll, like, AI generate it now. Yeah. That restored my confidence in AI so much, because that thing is so dumb. That can't tell anything. You need to tell me that thing would, like, know how to kill me if it needed to, because it can't even, like, tell what's discernible in this image. But how else would that go? If AIs would take over the world one day, how else are they gonna do it? Because people are just using them to make, like, bad art. So what else is it gonna do but just threaten you with it? Yeah. And how else is it gonna do that by just, like, it has to take some form? So I was like, yeah, I guess robot. There's a robot. He's standing outside your house. He's getting closer. And again, like, huge shout out to Darian, because, like, a bunch of that is thanks to him. I was really trying to give, like, voices to characters, more specifically, like, people to, like, talk kind of, like, in line, give them, like, kind of, not really, like, a full characterization or personality, but, like they both have, like, discernible things to say, and you can kind of tell the two of them apart personality wise. It's okay at that. It's still a little short, and it's a rough draft that I never, like, touched up. It was very quick of just, like, yeah, I'll do this, and doing 2 sketches like that back to back, because what was it? The Therapy Wolves ended up being, that was also my, like, check-in sketch. For those who don't know, when reapplying for grab bag, and I still made this a thing this semester, you got to submit a little writing sample just to show, like, you're still doing stuff, or you've at least got, like, something cooking if you want, like, the cast privileges. That's fine. That works. Shouldn't have done that. Kick the table. And originally that was just going to be, like, 1 page of that script, but then I was like, no, I think this is kind of funny, so I touched it up too. Me and Tyler had talked about we were both going to make like separate instances of like a therapist telling his patient inside you I see two wolves, and then we were going to write two separate instances of it, one where one person's really into it and one where the person is not at all, and they're like, what are you talking about? Tyler's never came to it was never like something that ever happened on the show, but Tyler ended up writing we ended up just like both writing two sketches where they're really into saying like inside you there are two wolves. But specifically with AI threat generator, what else is there for it? Not much. This one kind of like, it didn't burn me out, but like two sketches right off the bat of like grab bag immediately kind of like felt like overkill. So I was like, ooh, I gotta pull back hard. And then I ended up pulling back so hard that I don't think I did another sketch full on until the next one that we'll probably watch, which is Slime Napped. And actually, this will probably just make a good transition into Slime Napped because, you know, I don't have a lot more to say about this one.
Okay, we're going to watch Slime Napped.
Say you want this. Nothing happens until I hear you say it.
I want this.
All right, we just watched Slime Napped.
Yeah, who would have thought? I do really enjoy this one. It's just Breaking Bad, but you were in this one.
Yeah.
And you did great. I mean, again, and I keep saying it's just, you know, just be as appeasable as possible. Everybody did great. No, everybody did do fantastic in this. Coming up at like the end of the semester, I felt like I hadn't done enough for the show. I wanted to get a really good digital sketch out. And Slime Napped was Breaking Bad. It's just Breaking Bad, and like if you haven't seen it, it's kind of like the point is lost. And I did have, maybe it was Brody come up to me at the start of this semester and say like, I didn't get it, and I watched Breaking Bad over winter break, and now I watched it back, and I didn't get it before, but now I do. And that's it. If you haven't seen it, the joke kind of lands flat, and the joke is just being Breaking Bad. Like, again, that last sequence is just shot for shot, but with the Rizzler and a TikTok and making slime. But there were a lot of, this was the time of like, brain rot was a big thing. Everyone's talking about brain rot. And a lot of like jokes, and like this was across like, I'm a chronic Reels scroller. So it was like this period of where like the jokes were just revolved around like, man, how stupid are all these things that everybody's saying? And it just doesn't like land the same for me if it's just like, it never lands the same for me if when like, and even like comedians do this sometimes when they're just like, man, this thing, right? Because everyone's already saying this, everyone already gets it, everyone knows Rizzler, the Riz, I can't think of any of them now. Talk to spit on that thing, shout out Haley Welch, and all of those. And it's just like, I think that works way better as like a sub joke, but I didn't have like a primary joke. So the joke just became like, what if it was super dark and gritty and serious? Yeah. And then just was Breaking Bad. It's just the spoilers, I guess, for Breaking Bad, which is weird for a grab bag podcast, but it's Jesse's arc roughly within like the last season, or I guess the last couple of episodes. And I still think it's very funny. I don't watch this one back very much, which I think is just because like it's not aged to that point of something like where Peanut Butter and Jelly was at. But I am happy with like the production of this one, and I think for the most part this looks great. Lighting, that's all Nick. That's all like he came in just to see if like he could help with any filming, and I was like, yeah, you're great with lights. Do you think you could set them up a bit? And they look great. It gives it the very like dramatic lighting. It's supposed to kind of look like a warehouse, and I think it leans to that really well. What else? If you haven't noticed yet, I love using FNAF music. I love using like the ambience and just like the little tracks. In that, like the good ending at the end is kind of like that kind of encapsulating ending music. For some reason, that was like always in my head as like, I'm gonna close it out with the FNAF 3 good ending. But I'm really happy with this one. I'm trying to think a little more particularly about some things about it. And I don't know how much you remember about production. Most memorable thing, probably Tyler. I mean, there are so many takes where any one of us could not get a line in because Tyler would just like interject. Even the ones where he's not on camera, he would still do the voice, and it's just like, oh my god, I need a second. I can't read this next one. It's so it's so good. I don't know the difference between the three. I didn't know the difference between the three Costco guys before doing this sketch. I have a better understanding of them now. I understand their lore, I guess. Big Justice. He's the in-between one. Yeah. Not too small, but he's not the biggest. And it just came of like, these guys at that point in time were like beyond a celebrity. Yeah. Everybody knew who they were and like was quoting them, even if it wasn't even like a thing of you're watching their content. I don't even know what I guess it's just TikTok. Yeah. Do they do anything? Do they do anything else?
I don't know. I know they went on Jimmy Fallon, but that's all.
I'm not going to get super into it because I'm already yapping for so long, but that episode of Jimmy Fallon is so funny. He is so fed up with them. Oh my god. If you've never seen that episode of Jimmy Fallon, and I don't really like the Jimmy Fallon show, I'm not a fan. Is it the Jimmy Fallon show or is it like late night show? I don't remember. Either or. It is so funny because he is so fed up with them. He's like moving them along. Back on track, but please watch that. It's so funny. And what is it? So it's like, what does like brain rot come down to? And this one was a little dated, but it was slime. Slime is the thing that it comes down to. And the production the lead up to this production wise was so stressful because I thought I knew how to make slime. I've never made slime before. I should have like asked my sisters because years ago, what was it, like 2020 when slime blew up?
Maybe before that.
Really?
I think it was like 2016.
Oh my god, it might be, honestly. Whenever it blew up, I thought it must be like super simple to make. Yeah. So I had gotten all these. I had Nick drive me out to I think it was Walmart, and then I think because I couldn't find the things I thought I was looking for, stopped by like the drug mart kind of close to campus to get all of these things together. And it's on those 2 trips, I brought all that stuff back to the entertainment office, and Grant and Julian were watching me try and make slime, and it is just not working. And I don't know what, I think it was like what they referred to in videos as the activator. And this is the thing that I've learned about slime. You can apparently use anything, because I never watched every one of those slime videos that I saw, they told me something else, that they were like, put your cat in the slime. Who cares? Like, to make it out of whatever. So I was like, there's no way I could get it wrong. And I guess somehow I did, because I couldn't do it. That I ended up going out to a toy shop like right before filming and just buying like a set of slime. And I think I just threw it out because it was nasty. It was gross, and it doesn't even like feel like the kind of like slime you think of if you think slime. It's the one that like physically you see in a lot of bits. It's kind of broken out across the table in a kind of bits, but when I'm kind of holding it up like a gun at the end there, it's that slime. It was like Fortnite slime. It was like Fortnite themed Loot Llama something slime. And it felt gross, felt weird. And I think, was it you that like between shots just started kind of like working on the materials that I had? Yeah. And you kind of made it. It was a little like hard. It was a little starchy, but like it was pretty much slime. Yeah. So I did have the materials. I'm just that bad at making slime, I guess.
Yeah, I've tried to make slime with different materials, and I just couldn't do it.
Really? Like removed from the filming that? Okay.
Like I was trying to make it with like contact solution and glue, and it was like a rock.
Yeah. And I think I ended up getting like contact solution too for that. But like it took it took forever to try and get something out of it, and I couldn't get what they refer to as the activator before you mix like food coloring in. And I still don't get it, but it works for the sake of that sketch because I just needed I needed the materials more than I needed the slime itself, because he's locked in this like desk setup in his little lab with all of his slime bits, and by the time that you had like kind of like messed with it a little bit and kind of made slime out of it, we could use it for those like later shots. Yeah. So the one where me and Eric are just kind of like, there's a lot of B-roll of just the two of us kind of mixing things together. Yeah. There's one shot that's so funny to me where he just like drenches one of them in starch, like just like an avalanche of starch, and then he puts the glue up to the slime and he just kind of like squeezes it and the air releases from the glue and you can just see it like puff the starch out and it makes like a visible cloud that just floats away. And it's so funny to me. I think I included it because it's just like such a funny visual thing. Yeah. But yeah, this sketch looks good. I think it doesn't read well because it's nonsense. They're nonsense lines. Your line of like, I gotta go down to old Haley's house and give her a little talk to her. That is like oh my God, what am I writing? Where did this come from? But I like it's over the top, and again, that's what brain rot is. That's what like it's been classified as, is this thing of just like, man, how crazy it is that people talk like this, and it's like you're the one talking like that. But I still think it's like the darker tone makes it funnier that like it's interjecting with. It's what makes like the talk to a bits so funny. Yeah, and Tyler showing up as the Rizzler and has some sort of psychic / force field-esque powers and manipulation of the time. That effect you hear is the Fortnite shockwave grenade when they go flying. Both of you go flying. And you both look like, oh my God, you both... like the knockback is so real. It's so like... violent, and then it cuts to that like it is like bar for bar that like final Breaking Bad sequence between Walter White and Jesse Pinkman, but with the Rizzler and this TikToker, and that was the thing in writing that sketch that I was just like getting to, and I just knew we were just working to that, and to that end I think it works, and I think there's actually like if you watch back something like Peanut Butter and Jelly to this, I have a better idea of like ending sketches now. This one kind of calls for like a slower ending. The Big Justice, Revenge of Big Injustice, grossing $10 jillion dollars. A brave man can talk, but only any man can talk, but a brave man can tua or something. I wrote that at like 2 a.m. and I'm like giggling to myself and I'm like, man, I gotta go to bed.
I screenshotted that on my phone. I just send it to people every once in a while. It's so funny to me.
I'm glad you think it's funny because it's another one of those things that I feel like it never gets the laugh that like I gave to it myself when I wrote it. So I'm glad that it's been like exposed to people. Good job, Confucius, in writing that. No, I do love this one. Production-wise, would I say it's my best? Maybe, but that's just kind of because like something like PB&J is just a lot of like shock value of like, oh my God, he just covered himself in peanut butter. But this one is like, there was a lot of instances where this one almost became covering myself head to toe in slime. But that, oh my God, that's not happening. I don't think I'd ever recover from that. It's also made up of like toxic glue, so if I stick it to my skin, I'm sure that would go really well. What else for this sketch? Another one where like we were filming a lot of things because this was for the finale. We were filming a lot of things in Franklin that day, and I think this one got out a little bit later. It's definitely one where I had to like stagger people getting out of like, got to get all these things to these people, then we'll call it. But everybody did great. Eric does great. Tyler did great. He takes over for like recording a little towards the end, and there's some great bloopers of just like shit Tyler was saying during filming, which is so funny to me. I'm trying to think. There's so much junk in the background that like some of it was intentionally placed there, and some of it was like, I didn't mean to leave that there. I can't remember what it is, but it was like, because there were so many little parts that had to be in like certain shots, and we needed like scissors for something, we needed a ruler for something, and just so on and so forth. And it all just got thrown out in the end because I didn't want any of it. That slime wasn't cheap. Like the one that I actually had to go out and buy wasn't like $5 like I thought it was. It was like $30, $25. And I was like, are you kidding me? You're lucky that like this is already a set plan and I have to use this. But no, it works well. Everybody does great. You did great. Eric did great. Tyler did great. My roommate, my current roommate now, that first bit is filmed in my apartment with like a TikTok UI that I found over it with like a little image for like the profile picture of me jumping in a camera. And I got my roommate to just like grab that bag and like tear it over my head. Speaking of, so many outtakes of not being able to get that bag on my head because every time Eric would mess it up. And he just could not gauge where my head was for any of those. There's just a lot of bloopers with Slime Napped, but even removed from that, it didn't feel like, and maybe this is presumptuous of me to say because it was my sketch, but like it didn't feel like the bloopers were to a point of like exhaustion of like, man, we really just got to get this take, maybe closer towards the end, but it still felt like a lot of fun from beginning to end of just like filming it. I don't know how you thought about it because...
I mean, I remember when we had, like, the part where Tyler came in. I remember when we had it on a tripod, and there's a blooper where I literally just tell him to turn around because I can't do it.
You're so right for that because it couldn't have been. And even when he turned around, it still wasn't easy.
It was still funny. But I remember when we took it to handheld, which is what's in there, we did it one take, and I remember that. I was like, thank goodness.
Yeah. That blooper where you're just like, you're silent for a moment, you just... turn around. Like you had to conclude that to yourself, and it makes sense. It's just so, it's so good. I'm really happy with that one. What else did I did? I guess I did Interview with Dad recently, but don't know how much I have to say on that one.
We're at an hour.
We're at an hour?
Yes.
Oh my god. No, we're not. Interview with Dad really quickly. I wrote it very quickly. Don't remember what the premise was. Originally it was like, originally it was like a dad, like a war veteran who had presumably faked his death in this interview as someone else. Why a war veteran would fake his death just to like present himself as a different war veteran is whatever. And then the interviewee or the interviewer is his son, who like never had a father figure, and the ending was like the conclusion is like, "Are you my father?" He's like, "I'm so sorry," and then it changed into, and I think this was a tip by Nick, or maybe it was Morgan, I can't remember, of like, what if it, I don't know if it wasn't his dad or if that was just like what it came down to, but it was just like, what if it was just somebody who was desperately seeking that father figure. And I was like, Josh can do that. And Josh has done a lot this semester. He has been pulling his weight. But like that was one where I was like, yeah, weird, awkward desperation. He's our guy. He is always our man for that. Yeah. But yeah, I'm happy with that one. Go watch it because we're not gonna break it up with another bit. I don't know if you actually haven't seen any of these yet. They'll get outlet before, but what I do is I break these up with like a little TV audio effect and like a clip from, or like a little audio clip from that sketch to kind of like identify it. And it takes so long because I have to find it on YouTube, I have to download it, and then I have to get that little clip of like, I just go for the full episode, so it's like a 15-minute like video that I need like a 2-second bit for, but like they're fun. I love editing these. I don't know how much like I'll get right on this one probably because I love hearing myself talk.
For 1 hour.
For 1 hour. But no, these ones are easier because I have all of these saved. These are already like in my drive somewhere. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to stretch this episode super long, but this is the end of like the first season of the In the Bag podcast. I kind of want to get your thoughts a bit more like on this. Is there anything you want to watch? Do you want like an episode dedicated to you? Because like you could have that. You earned it.
Thank you. I was literally just telling Kim about that. I was like, one day, I don't know how this would happen if just me talking to myself for 30 minutes. But, I mean, that'd be cool. I haven't done too much, but I think, like, at one point when I'm like, okay, I've done enough, I can talk about it, then, like, yeah.
I will say...
I've written my first bit, and that's the one that's going in this next episode.
Yes.
So.
I think this will probably release at least like after that episode is the Phineas and Ferb are homeless. Yeah, that was great. I loved how that one turned out. It was so good.
Thank you.
Say that sarcastic. People are just gonna think I'm just like being mean. It doesn't exist yet, at least at the time of this recording. I think it would be hilarious if like if this is something you want to do next semester, if we open up like episode 1 with just like 2 cuts of you responding to yourself for like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And we don't like, don't acknowledge it. Don't like kind of like confuse it. Just treat it like any other episode, but it is purely your voice like, speaking over it. But I will say, I was pleasantly surprised when you auditioned for host of this. I wasn't expecting your name on the application for this because you gave like, you had very good reasoning in it too. You were like, I want to be a little more involved in the show, and I think this is like a nice spot for it. And I think I really like, I'm not trying to like make it sound good for the podcast. You have done fantastic, and like watching these edited back, like it felt like you came equipped for if like there was dead air, you really quickly could fill that with a question, which is the biggest thing in any podcast or any like audio recording of any kind. If there was any sort of like quick drought, you would really quickly pick it up. And props, because I cannot do that at all. I can talk about myself from like dawn to dusk, but I can't keep a conversation going if it's not about me. So huge props to you for each of these episodes and to each of the guests that came on this. We had Vinny, Sophia, Morgan, Jillian, Kim, and then you did 2 episodes back to back today. They won't release back to back. I guess you could watch them back to back and it's almost like you were really here. But no, I'm really happy with this podcast, and it wouldn't have been possible without you.
Thank you.
So thank you so much. Because this is stupid. It's not stupid, but it's like, it's sketch comedy, and it's the lowest thing of like, how do you, of course, because on our end, production wise, there's like talking about it, but nobody really thinks about sketch comedy that way, I don't think.
Yeah.
People kind of just like chuckle and move on. They don't really think of like why it made them laugh.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting personally. That's why I think the focus of this podcast should be like what those jokes were. I'll leave it to you to close off because I've talked too much for it.
Well, it's like an extra long finale episode.
It is like an extra long finale, so it's a little more excusable, but I'm wasting both of our times.
It's okay. All right, well then that was the last episode of In the Bag, a Grab Bag Behind the Scenes podcast. I am your host, Vallon Voyles, and I will see you next season.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to all of these, I think, 7 episodes for the first season.
6.
All right, 6? I think this is...
What?